Hello and welcome back to You Want to Do What with Dan and Julie. Today we have Jack on, who is a bartender, brand ambassador. He works for a incredibly famous gym brand, actually. Hi, Jack. How are you?
Hey, Dan. Yeah, lovely to meet you.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you actually do?
Absolutely. And also, hello, Julie. Sorry.
Hiya, no worries. Good to meet you too.
So I am a brand ambassador for a big global gin brand, which is definitely very entertaining. Keeps me very busy and it's really fun. I've been in the hospitality industry for about 16 years now. So kind of started off in the club scene, moved into bars and fell in love with service. I've worked in restaurants and nightclubs, and I've worked in Australia, New Zealand, London. So I've had a fun career, and now I've kind of settled down to the corporate side of the hospitality booze industry with this corporate company.
Awesome. So how did you sort of get started in this? What did you do at school? Did you always know you wanted to go into it, or is it something you fell into?
Yeah, I haven't met a single person in my industry that said, when I grow up, I want to be a bartender. It's definitely one of those roles that's like a really noble working class role. And I think when I was at school, I went to a good school, I had good grades, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, as most young people haven't got a clue. But I ended up going to university because I wanted to kind of pursue higher education, and I ended up getting a degree in business management, which was vague enough for me to keep my options open. And like most students, I had to subsidize my my frivolous partying life. So I got a job in the club sector, and I was kind of a club promoter, kind of getting paid for every person I would kind of get into the club. So I was having like guest lists and whatnot, and that kind of evolved naturally. I would see the guys working behind the bar and think, that looks a lot cooler. And working indoors in a warm bar versus outdoors in Leeds during winter definitely where I wanted to go. So I kind of there's a funny story there, but I ended up getting a job behind the bar and not knowing anything about making drinks, but I knew about what my personal strengths were, which was like with people. And so anyone can really be a bartender or a server, as long as that they're really willing to be sociable and to kind of put someone else in front of them. It's like a really strange feeling to serve someone. Service is all about getting rewarded personally out of making someone else enjoy themselves.
I guess the bartenders at your kind of level, and the brand ambassadors at your level, it's all about personality, and it's almost an art form, isn't it? Creating the drinks in front of people.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a really rewarding part of it, the creativity. But when you start, you definitely have like an element of creativity because you're mixing probably really bad drinks on the fly. But I think when you start, the focus is more on like the environment. Like it's really, really fun. And as a young person wanting to kind of earn money, and and you enjoy your social life, suddenly you're 20 something. Well, I started when I was 18. And you're out in a bar and there's loud music and people having a good time, and it's so much fun. And I think that's what draws you to it immediately at the start, and then it kind of evolves, and you realize you can make a career out of it, and you look at the potential options. And one route is like the mixology route, which is kind of where I went, which is really getting into the art and craft of cocktails. Really, nowadays the bartender is definitely kind of being elevated to a status akin to a chef in certain areas, and some salaries even reflect that.
Wow. Because you won a world-class bartender of the year, didn't you, at some point?
Yeah. There's a competition that happens every year. So there's about 10,000 bartenders that enter globally in 55 countries. So I represented Australia, so I won that part of it, and then I went to the global finals. I didn't win, but I placed third. So that was really
Wow,
Wow.
that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great experience, and it definitely opens your eyes to the wider community globally. Just how many different types of people there are, all doing the same thing, and to be in a room with all these incredibly passionate people, it's so cool. Because that was 5 years ago now, and I still know most of the 50 odd bartenders I competed against, and occasionally I've met up with them if I've visited their countries, and I've had some stay with me, and I've stayed with some. So it's like this little community, which is lovely.
Oh, that's really good. So how did you move on from bartending to more the mixology side? Because obviously, I know when I'm in a club or something, generally the bartenders have pre-mixed cocktails, but then if you go to quite an upmarket bar, the cocktails are made in front of you, and it's you can see the difference in level, really.
Yeah, I think so it's all about kind of like once you realize you want to commit to it, instead of it just being like a part-time role to make a bit of extra money, that's when you really need to go and kind of seek out your own career path. You can't become like I'm going to keep using the word mixologist because it differentiates.
No, that's fine.
Within the industry. But it's not a term I actually use to describe myself, because I quite like how humble the term bartender is. But I think in this context, it's relevant. But I feel like, if you want to kind of get to that stage, you need to really do your own research as to what kind of bars and restaurants support that kind of drink making or that kind of program. And then you need to go after it and really kind of, find a mentor who's willing to teach you, because there are courses you can do. Back in, God knows, a long time ago, I did an international bartending course, which kind of taught me some basics. But most people don't do them, and they're really not as necessary as people think. The best thing to do is to find a place you'd love to work in, some way that you think is way beyond your current capabilities, and go in with your CV and just bother them every day until they're willing to give you a job, as a bar back, kind of polishing glasses and supporting the senior bartenders. And then you learn so much by doing that, by being in that environment, and then you naturally progress.
Would that be sort of high-end hotels, top-level restaurants in the cities?
Yes.
Is that what we're talking about?
So, I mean, it's a really varied industry. You can get like the highest level quality cocktails in the most obvious places, as you can imagine, like, fancy hotels and really great restaurants, Michelin star restaurants, all that kind of stuff. But I think there's also incredible places making drinks that have got much more humble origins, like neighborhood cocktail bars. Mm-hmm. Often people want, bartenders, high-level bartenders want to break from that formal service, and they go and open their own really casual environment bar. And I think a really good example of that in London is like the East London cocktail scene is super fun and super relaxed, but really high quality in terms of the product.
And
outside of London, I know the Leeds market well, and you've got amazing establishments like Jake's and Watermark, which are like really relaxed, fun, lively environments, but the level of drinks that are being produced are really high quality as well.
And over the last couple of years, I think high level, like that sort of cocktail drinking and mixer drinking has sort of gone up, particularly with the gin boom. Different mixer companies coming out. I definitely think it's going up and up, and the bars and restaurants that do the better quality cocktails do stand out. I can certainly, in my local town and city, I know the ones that do the good cocktails and those that don't.
Yeah, it's kind of like every establishment out there serves a purpose, right? I love the pub. I've got a love affair with it. As
me too.
Do. But I wouldn't go to a pub and order a cocktail because I really want a delicious Guinness, for example. So I think it's all about time and a place. And I actually don't drink that much anymore nowadays, because that's a difficult part of the industry that I'm sure we'll kind of get onto.
So what is your sort of average day like as a mixologist?
So at the moment, my role is kind of evolving, but now I'm kind of like the head of advocacy for Great Britain. So what that means is my job is to take the brands that we have under our belt and find out the best way to communicate them to bartenders. So it's very much like a marketing role. And, I'm in a unique spot because I was a bartender for so long, so I kind of know about all that. And also like how to better the community, how to reinvest into bartenders, and booze brands reinvest millions and millions of pounds globally back into educating and upskilling bartenders, because obviously it serves them a great purpose by making sure the industry and the quality is getting raised. And the rise in kind of drinking culture is not a coincidence. Booze brands like the one I work for have been pumping a lot of money into making sure bartenders are better and that better at making drinks through competitions and awards and all that kind of stuff. So
are you sort of like a teacher or educator to these bars of how best to serve your product?
Yeah, nowadays I am. Nowadays it's rare I kind of step behind the bar. I don't really do any specific shifts unless it's like for an event that we're running. So now, my main focus is education, and I've got a team of 12 other brand ambassadors that work with me, and they are probably doing about 1,000 trainings a year. So they're just out there educating people about cocktails and their specific spirits, and so there's a lot of education involved.
So when you're doing this job, or when you're a bartender and moving into becoming a mixologist and now the brand ambassador role, what's your average day like? You're doing night shifts as a bartender, and then you're sleeping in the day. How does that work?
Yeah, so I guess we'll kind of focus on one area at a time. And as a bartender, it's just very much a nocturnal role. I mean, you can get a job somewhere where you get some day shifts, like in a restaurant. But most, you are working when other people are enjoying themselves, because you're there to help them do that. And so that can be actually quite taxing. And as a young person, it's really fun and really great. And I think that's the reason why people naturally progress to like a brand ambassador role, because you can then suddenly stay in the industry that you love. But as you're aging, you don't have to be working every single night. And even though you're still, I would say bartenders work more often than not more hours than standard 9 to 5, 45, 50 plus hours a week. And you can do that from a stamina point of view when you're younger. But as you age, you just don't want to be in that environment as much, and so it's a natural progression to kind of go into a brand ambassador style role, as long as you've got the knowledge to back it up.
So you spoke earlier about so some personality traits that bartenders have, or mixologists have, such as very determined. What sort of other personality traits do you see in yourself and others in the industry that you think help?
I think one thing that's really important for to get into the industry is you've got to be a grafter. I see a lot of parallels with with contractors and people who work in very manual driven roles, because it's hard work. You do the fun job of making cocktails or serving customers and making them have a great night, but at the end of the day, you've got to get on your hands and knees and scrub the floor and take out the bins and restock the fridges. And it is hard work, but it definitely keeps you fit. So being a grafter, it's very, very easy. When I was in management of bars, it's very easy to see who's going to kind of last, and within a week, if someone's kind of got it in them to put in the graft. So I'd say like grafting is like one personality trait. Another one would be it's just like a love for people.
Yeah.
You really can't. You've really got to be outgoing, and just have natural inherent social skills where you make eye contact with people, you shake people's hands. Probably not in this day and age anymore, but give them the old elbow bump.
I suppose it's in your interest to be that way as well, because I suppose in the higher end maybe places you're relying maybe on of tips, and do you rely on that a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, tipping culture is nowhere near as big here as in the States, and I actually really don't enjoy tipping culture because I think personally you should do the best job to your ability, despite what you're going to get paid. But that's a much larger conversation. I think all employers should pay hospitality staff more. They should be taken as far away from the kind of minimum wage as possible. And tips should be outlawed because it's way more black and white for consumers. And I've traveled in the States, and I tell you what, I much prefer a non-tipping culture. But that's a whole another conversation. But yeah, it is definitely in everyone's best interest to be personable and welcoming and warm, because at the end of the day, the reputation of that establishment and depends on it. If the bar is successful, then you get more shifts.
Yeah,
and you get promotions and you get pay rises. And the culture, and everyone has, I've worked in some award-winning bars and I've worked in some not so good bars, and the culture is really different when everyone's like, flying under this one banner of like, wow, we are really good at what we do.
Yeah, it must be brilliant fun.
So that's obviously a lot of teamwork as well involved in the bar industries. You've got to be, particularly when you're behind a cramped bar and you've got 50 people in front of you, knowing what people are doing around you is probably quite crucial as well.
Yeah. Camaraderie is a really big part of it, and the pros and cons of hospitality is that there's a lot of incredible people managers out there, but no one, all the best people managers are the ones who have got a degree in it, and they've gone into corporate jobs and they've been trained to best get the best out of teams. Whereas in hospitality, there really isn't training for that. And so the people that end up in management, you get a mixed bag. People that are really in love with it and really good with people, but it's always kind of learning on the job of how to best manage a team. And so camaraderie and a team culture is a really big thing, and it can make or break a venue completely. But yeah, it's close quarters work. Often it's busy. It can be sweaty. You get the most ridiculous level of team spirit, unlike I've ever had in any other job. You really have a bond, like a family bond with these people, for better or for worse. With all the dysfunction of a family, and also all of the love as well. When you finish, the feeling of finishing a really busy Saturday night shift, and the bar is clean, and you all sit down for a knockoff and you crack that beer and you'll have a little chat about how you don't do that in other jobs.
No.
And it's lovely.
What are some of the biggest positives and opportunities you've got out of this industry? Because we mentioned you did the competition, you placed incredibly well out of 10,000 people, which is mad. And do you travel around the world? I mean, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, like when you get to a high level, you have a really good opportunity. And like booze brands, like who I work for now, we spend a lot of money on making sure bartenders have a great experience, and we pay for trips to distilleries. We've got distilleries in Mexico and Guatemala and Ireland and France and 28 in Scotland. So we do a lot of cool trips, and bartenders that are working in some cool bars really get a great opportunity to do that. If you get to like a high level competition stage, I mean, I won a trip around the world in 80 bars. So I traveled to 11 countries just with
my
work.
God, that sounds amazing.
I mean, it was really cool. It was really cool. And, that's the biggest thing for me. I mean, I've traveled around the world just by working as well. I've worked in a few different countries, and I've now got friends that work in different countries. So it's a lot easier for me to kind of go there and do a couple of guest bartending shifts. So that's like, I guess the biggest positives is just the community. That's all possible because of the community. And, it's just lovely. You get really amazing memories. But it is definitely like a young man's game, or young woman's game. But, in my case, you can only do it for so long until it starts to get, it has the potential to get quite toxic. And I guess natural, I don't want to kind of lead the conversation for you, but I guess the next question is, what are the negatives?
Oh, yeah. What is the more less favourable aspects of the industry?
I mean, booze, right? Booze is this beautiful, miraculous thing that we all love. And I love the education and history, but it's an intoxicant. And for some people don't have the same strength of will to resist the negative side effects of it. And I've known people over the years who have really suffered from kind of getting way too heavily into drinking because of the access to it. Especially if you're managing a bar, or you're having knockoffs, you're just in that environment of constantly being around alcohol, and it becomes so natural to have a drink every day because you're there, you're pouring it. Like, why wouldn't you just have a quick little a little shot with the team to boost your spirits? If and if you think about that, it's not quite normal, right? Having free accessible alcohol. So there's a lot of people, like myself, I'm now in my 30s, and I still drink. I haven't gone teetotal, and I still enjoy the taste of alcohol and I enjoy the effects, but I'm hyper aware of what it can do because I've seen a lot of my dear friends have to, really try to kick it, and it's affected their moods, and they've become, got depression. And so it's one of those industries that I think nowadays it's becoming really positive because big booze brands are really acknowledging that. The one I work for have got so many campaigns about responsible drinking and how it should be used for enjoyment, which is great. And also there's a huge growing trend of non-alcoholic spirits and zero alcohol beer and stuff. And
yeah, I was going to mention that actually, because I think the generation under certainly me and Julie are maybe less into alcohol than we were, and maybe have a better understanding of, okay, maybe we shouldn't go and smash a load of beers, just enjoy a social drink. Do you see that happening more and more?
I think that also comes with the also what you're doing and saying that actually drinking is a pleasurable thing. We're putting these incredible cocktails together. It's meant to be enjoyed and tasted and flavored instead of just used as a intoxicant.
Yeah, 100%. And there is loads of market research that we, as a business, we've been looking at, and actually the generation younger than us definitely drink less, but they also drink more premium. So they're not spending less money, which is funny. They're just paying more money for less because they want to have a higher quality experience. And it's the same thing with the food revolution, right? Everyone's a food blogger now. Everyone wants incredible food experiences, and they travel for it. They get, they go to Italy for the pasta, all that kind of stuff. The same thing applies to booze. And so I think the industry is changing. Non-alcoholic spirits is one of the fastest growing parts of the market. And my company is now no longer an alcohol company, which is what we used to be called. We're now an adult drinks company because we're selling non-alcoholic alternatives.
Okay. So what do you think the future of this all is then? As if we're moving towards, you're saying people are spending more on less, they want a more premium experience. Is that the way the industry's going? People just drinking less but better?
Yeah, I mean, you're still always going to have your kind of cheap convenience store vodka. But you're still going to have people that drink that stuff. But yeah, premiumization is like a rapidly growing trend, and there's no sign of it going away. And also, from a professional point of view, bartenders are getting paid more now than they've ever been paid in the past, at least in Europe. I'm not sure about the States. And so there's so many more opportunities. The amount of colleagues of mine that I've grown up with working that are now kind of like Instagrammers and have got huge followings, or they're on TV, or have written books. There's so many multiple revenue streams to come out of it now, aside from just working in a bar.
We can really, like, social media has opened up so many opportunities for, I think, everyone in every industry, especially in something that's like such an art form that mixology is. And that sort of talking about that and income wise, we have some rough figures, but you can sort of say yay or nay to for salary wise. So entry levels for bartender mixologists, you're looking at like 15k, but then the average is about 32k. Does that sort of line up with your experiences?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, my son is just
It's all right, no problem.
No, definitely, I think nowadays 15k is really, really low. I mean, that's to be like your part-time rural pub bartender when you first start, maybe.
Okay.
I'd say kind of like the starting rate for a junior bartender will probably be like 20k up to 30k, even if you're kind of pulling some hours. And then, you know, kind of getting to like a senior bartender, mixologist role in a really great establishment, you can earn up to 50k a year with tips. So it is a really worthwhile living.
Mm.
And then suddenly, if you get into like a luxury management role, you know, like a bar manager of a 5-star hotel, you know, you can get up to 90k easily. So
wow, is that what you were talking about at the beginning, sort of comparable to top level chefs? Are you know, working alongside them and you're bringing this extra part to their restaurant?
Yeah, 100%. And you know, I think a lot of restaurants still haven't opened their eyes to the capability of how much revenue they can earn with a really well curated drinks program to complement the food. But there are a lot that have taken that on, and you know, one that is a particular note is Hyde on Piccadilly in central London.
Mm-hmm.
It's just beautiful fine dining restaurant, and their bar manager Oscar is just really kind of changed the game for how they operate with drinks. And the consumers go there now as much for the drinks as they do for the food.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sort of like the sommeliers of today, really, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And sommeliers are suddenly so much more interested in cocktails, which is great. There's a lot of kind of crossing over now.
So your job description as a mixologist or a bartender, or you know, what you do now, is there something that you wouldn't necessarily think was in there, but you have to deal with, whether it's about dealing with your approach to alcohol, or what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, this job I'm in right now is so far out of my comfort zone. I've been in role for 2 years, and it's my first foray into the corporate world. You know, and as a bartender, you can experience that maybe in like hotel chains, but you're still in service. And so I thought I knew everything there was to know about people management, because you know, I've run bars for years, and I owned a bar in Australia as a general manager, and I had, you know, a team of 15 that rotated over a couple of years, and I just thought I had management down, and that's probably why I got the job I'm in today. But I've learned so much more since being here about the intricacies of corporate life and all the other kind of management skills that I just didn't possess, because I was kind of in hospitality, you kind of manage, I don't know, I felt my management style was very much like a mum, you know, I was like that go-to person. But actually there's really kind of, I was a very emotional manager, should I say. And yeah, I've learned a lot about how to get the most out of people from a technical point of view, just by kind of positively manipulating them and developing their careers and kind of setting goals and all that kind of stuff that I saw before.
So you probably get this question all the time, but what is your favorite cocktail?
I do get it all the time. You know, it's such a hard one. The cop out answer is whatever's in my hand, you know, fine. But I guess I really, really love a mojito, because it is such a basic drink that is actually, I think it's like the 3rd best-selling drink in the UK. And it's so often messed up. And a lot of bartenders who are quite new really hate making it, because they think it's really hard to make and the mint is fiddly. But actually, it's one of the easiest drinks to make with the correct training. And it's just so delicious, right? It's rum, it's lime, it's mint, it's soda. On a hot summer's day, you can't beat it. And if it's not that, it's the polar opposite, which is probably an old-fashioned.
Oh, I love an old-fashioned.
Which is a bit more kind of like stiff and sophisticated. Yeah. And I love whiskey, so...
I think mine would be a French 75. It's always been my favourite.
Oh, delicious. Very classy.
Yeah.
I'd probably have to go for a Tom Collins, to be honest. Quite basic, but really, really refreshing.
Really refreshing. And you can modify it like a million ways to, you know?
Yeah, actually, everyone, we'll link Jack's Instagram in our post, but definitely check it out. You've got some great recipes on there and some really good content.
Lots of drinks. Yes.
Lots of drinks, yeah.
During lockdown, I've been very busy.
A final question we like to finish on is: would you go and do it all again?
100%.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, literally the best memories of my 20s. You know, the best memories. I wouldn't have wanted to be doing anything else. It was so much fun. And I can't believe I got paid to do it, which is great.
That's awesome to hear.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Jack. Really appreciate it. It's been really interesting to talk to you.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jack. Cheers. Bye-bye.